The problem for most people, it has been my experience, is that they have been raised to believe in what they can't do. And it's a very simple prospect to change that, yet most people never do. And it's one of the reasons why people are not very good at attracting into their life what they would like to have, whatever it might be, at any level. And I'm talking about from the very highest levels of miracles and healings and attracting abundance into your life to getting a job, to having relationships, the right person show up in your life. Anything that you can put your thoughts on or your attention on. I suggest the reason that people don't get the things that they would like to have in their life is because of that very simple principle that they are putting their thoughts or their attention or their energy on what they can't have or what's impossible. And it's a very simple paradigm for me. In the scriptures, there's a line that says, as a man thinketh, so is he. As we think, so shall we be. What we think about is what we become, and so on. It's endless. Emerson's notion that the ancestor to every action is a thought, that everything began with a thought. And it's true of everything that you can think of in your life. Just look at what you're wearing on your feet right now. Somebody had to think about those shoes. Look at the chair that you're sitting on. Just wherever you are, just gaze around and realize that it all started with an idea, with a thought. As St. Paul put it in the New Testament, that which is seen hath not come from that which doth appear. That is, the source of everything in the world is not in the world itself. It's in something invisible, something imaginary, something that is formless, something that has no boundaries, and that is the world of thought, the world of ideas. And if you can just accept that premise that what you think about is what expands, then if your thoughts are on what you can't do, or if your thoughts are on what you dislike, or if your thoughts are on what always has been, or if your thoughts are on what other people expect of you, and even if you despise all of that, and even if you find a lot of fault with that, and if you're very angry about all of that, about the way things always are, or always have been, rather, or the way things used to be. If your energy and your thoughts are on those things that you dislike, then you will attract more of what you dislike into your life. And it's almost as if it's a law of the universe. And that highly functioning people, one of the things that I learned from one of my great mentors, Abraham Maslow, many, many years ago as a doctoral student, is that when someone comes to you and they're looking for help of any kind, never place more than a few moments' attention on the problem. Because if your thoughts are always on, and what you're talking about is always on what is wrong, and what the problem is, you will become an enabler to that person to continue to manifest more of what is wrong and the problem in their life. And that highly functioning people, self-actualizing people that Maslow called them, were people who didn't think about what is, not even what is. And just notice in your life, as you think about this principle of having a mind that is open to everything, think about how many people you run into every day whose thoughts are on the circumstances of their life, and who talk about the circumstances of their life. This is what's wrong, this is what I don't have, this is something that I can't seem to get right, I keep having the wrong thing show up, we don't have any money, we don't have the right friends, I don't like the way my spouse treats me, my children are always this, whatever. It's this endless inventory of things that people's minds are occupied with that are on what is. And if you want to know about self-actualization, you have to learn how to take your thoughts off of what is and onto what you intend to manifest with passion. You have to make that shift so that every time you are having a thought that is based upon the circumstances of your life, what always has been, what used to be, or whatever, you shift it. And you make the picture in your mind shift onto something that you intend to create or manifest into your life. So having a mind that is open to everything and attached to nothing is a mind. This came from a man who wrote back in the 10th century in the dialogues of Tilopa and his discourses. And he was a Vedantic scholar who lived in India over 1,000 years ago. And he suggested then in those discourses that a mind that is open to everything is one that has the potential for attracting everything into its life. And a person who doesn't have a mind that is open to everything will attract exactly what it is that they have their attention on. So one of the things that we have to do to create a mind that is open to everything is to look at what it is that we believe is not possible. And then, if you will, rewrite your agreement with reality. Literally rewrite it. And have it shift.
Wisdom is avoiding all thoughts that weaken you. Every single thought you have can be assessed in terms of whether it strengthens or weakens you. In fact, there's a simple muscle test you can do to try out any thought that you're having in the present moment. It works like this. Hold your arm out to your side and have someone else attempt to push your arm down while you resist. Think of telling a lie and notice how much weaker you are than if you think of a truth. This can be done for any thought that elicits an emotional reaction. In a book titled Power versus Force, David Hawkins, a medical doctor, elaborates on this method and provides a map of consciousness to show you how every thought computes to either weaken or strengthen you. Authentic wisdom is the ability to monitor yourself at all times to determine your relative state of weakness or strength, and to shift out of those thoughts that weaken you. In this way, you keep yourself in an upbeat, higher state of consciousness, and you prevent your thoughts from weakening every single organ of your body. When you use your mind to empower you, you're appealing to that which uplifts and raises your spirits. Power urges you to live and perform at your own highest level, and it is compassionate. Force, on the other hand, involves movement. This is unlike power, which is a standing field that never moves against anything. Because force is in motion, it always creates a counterforce. That counterforce constantly consumes and must be fed energy. Rather than being compassionate, force is associated with judgment, competition, and controlling others. For example, in an athletic event, your thoughts are on overpowering your opponent, being better than another, and playing and winning at any cost. The entire muscular structure of your body is actually weakened because thoughts of force weaken you. On the other hand, if in the midst of an athletic event you can keep your thoughts on performing at your highest capacity, on using your inner strength to muster the energy to be as efficient as it's possible for you to be, and to have great respect for your God-given abilities, you will actually be empowering yourself. A thought of force requires a counterforce, and a battle that weakens, while a thought of power strengthens you, since no counterforce is called into play to consume your energy. Power thoughts energize you, since they make no demands on you. Thoughts that weaken you. If a simple thought will make the muscles of your arm go weak or strong, imagine what it must be doing to all of the other muscles and organs of your body. Your heart is a muscle that's weakened by thoughts that disempower you. Your kidneys, liver, lungs, and intestines are all surrounded by muscles that are affected by your thoughts. The thought that makes most people the weakest is shame. The importance of forgiving yourself cannot be stated strongly enough. If you carry around thoughts of shame about what you've done in the past, you're weakening yourself both physically and emotionally. Similarly, if you use a technique of shame and humiliation on anyone to get them to reform, you're going to create a weakened person who will never become empowered until those shameful and humiliating thoughts are removed. Removing your own thoughts of shame involves a willingness to let go, to see your past behaviors as lessons you had to learn, and to reconnect to your source through prayer and meditation. After shame, guilt, and apathy thoughts make you the weakest. They produce the emotions of blame and despair. To live in guilt is to use up your present moments being immobilized over what has already transpired. No amount of guilt will ever undo what's been done. If your past behavior mobilizes you to learn from your mistakes, this is not guilt. It's learning from the past. But to wallow in the present moment over your so-called errors is guilt, and it can only take place now. Releasing guilt is like removing a huge weight from your shoulders. Guilt is released through the empowering thought of love and respect for yourself. You empower yourself with love and respect, letting go of standards of perfection and refusing to use up the precious currency of your life, that is, the now, with thoughts that only continue to frustrate and weaken you. Instead, you can vow to be better than you used to be, which is the true test of nobility. Apathetic thoughts create despair. They are the thoughts that keep you from being engaged in life. Apathy stems from self-pity and a need to be entertained continually to avoid boredom. You can never be apathetic or lonely if you love the person you're alone with. Every moment of every day presents an unlimited number of options for living fully and being connected to life. You don't need a television or a radio constantly blaring to avoid apathy. You have your own mind, which is a kingdom of limitless potential. You have the choice each day to wake up and say, "Good morning, God," or "Good God, morning." It's always a choice. Any moments that you fill with thoughts of boredom and apathy will truly weaken you physically, emotionally, and spiritually. To me, it's an insult to this wondrous universe, filled with 100 million miracles, to ever allow myself to think thoughts of boredom or apathy. The other prominent thoughts that compete to make you weak include fear and anger. Both of these categories of thought employ force, which produces a counterforce, and an inner atmosphere of tension and weakness. When you're afraid, you've moved away from love. Remember, perfect love casteth out all fear. What you fear, you resent, and ultimately begin to hate. Thus the dichotomy of hate and fear are at work within you, always weakening you. Every thought you have, in which you're in a state of fear, keeps you away from your purpose, and is simultaneously weakening you. Your fearful thoughts are inviting you to stay immobilized. When you find yourself in a fearful mode, stop right there and invite God onto the scene. Turn fear over to your senior partner with these words: "I don't know how to deal with this, but I know I'm connected to you, the miraculous creative force in this universe. I'll move my ego out of the way and turn it over to you. Try it. You'll be surprised by how quickly that higher energy of love will nullify and dissolve your fearful thoughts and empower you at the same time." Anger, likewise, is an emotional reaction to thoughts that say, "I want the world to be the way I want it, not the way it is. Therefore, I'm angry." Anger is often justified as normal, but it will always make you weak. And as this principle reminds you, wisdom is avoiding all thoughts that weaken you. You don't have to be angry to right a wrong or to work toward a better world. When you become more peaceful, you will only have peace to give away. Moments of frustration won't trigger anger. They'll help you become more aware, and then they'll spur you onto a solution. Every thought of anger moves you away from love and into violence and vengeance, which are forces that spur counterforces, weakening everyone involved. All of these thoughts of shame, guilt, apathy, fear, and anger are energies, since everything in our universe is a vibrating frequency. Those that weaken you are low, slow frequencies, and they can only be dissolved by bringing the higher, faster energies of spirit to their presence. Having a mind that is open to everything and attached to nothing sounds easy until you think about how much conditioning has taken place in your life and how many of your current thoughts were influenced by geography, the religious beliefs of your ancestors, the color of your skin, the shape of your eyes, the political orientation of your parents, your size, your gender, the schools that were selected for you, and the vocation of your great-grandparents, to list only some possibilities. You showed up here as a tiny infant capable of an infinite number of potentialities. Many of your choices remain unexplored because of a hopefully well-intentioned conditioning program designed to make you fit the culture of your caretakers. You probably had next to no opportunity to disagree with the cultural and societal arrangements made for your life. There may have been some adults who encouraged you to have an open mind, but if you're honest with yourself, you know that your philosophy of life, your religious beliefs, your manner of dress, and your language are a function of what your tribe and its heritage determined was right for you. If you made any fuss about going against this preordained conditioning, you probably heard even stronger voices insisting that you get back in line and do things the way we've always done them. Fitting in superseded having a mind that was open to new ideas. If your parents were Jewish, it's unlikely that you were raised to honor and respect the Muslim religion and vice versa. If both your parents were Republicans, it's improbable that you heard the virtues of the Democratic Party extolled. Whatever the reasons our ancestors may have had for not having open minds, it's true that they inhabited a much less populated world than we do. In today's overpopulated world, we simply cannot continue to live with those old styles of closed-mindedness. I urge you to open your mind to all possibilities, to resist any efforts to be pigeonholed. and to refuse to allow pessimism into your consciousness. Having a mind that is open to everything and attached to nothing seems to me to be one of the most basic principles that you can adopt to contribute to individual and world peace. No one knows enough to be a pessimist. Find an opportunity to observe a tiny little green sprout emerging from a seed. When you do, allow yourself to feel the awe of what you're seeing. A famous poet named Rumi observed, "Sell your cleverness and purchase bewilderment." The scene of an emerging sprout represents the beginning of life. No one on this planet has even a tiny clue as to how all of this works. What is that creative spark that causes the life to sprout? What created the observer, the consciousness, the observation, and perception itself? The questions are endless. A short while ago, Earthlings in the space program were moving a tiny vehicle on Mars via remote control. Invisible signals took 10 minutes to travel through space and arrive to make right turns and instruct a scoop to pick up some Martian real estate to examine. We all marvel at such technological feats, but think about it for a moment. In an endless universe, Mars, our closest neighbor, is the equivalent of moving a billionth of an inch across any page that you might be reading. We move a little vehicle on a neighbor next door, and we're so impressed with ourselves. There are billions and billions of planets, objects, and stars in our galaxy alone. And there are uncountable billions of galaxies out there. We are a speck in an incomprehensibly vast universe that has no end to it. Think about this. If we found the end, would there be a wall at the edge of the universe? If so, who built it? Even more perplexing, what's on the other side of the wall, and how thick is it? How can anyone be a pessimist in a world where we know so little? A heart starts beating inside a mother's womb a few weeks after conception, and it's a total mystery to everyone on our planet. In comparison to what there is to know, we're only embryos ourselves. Keep this in mind whenever you encounter those who are absolutely certain that there's only one way to do something. Resist being a pessimist. Resist with all your might, because we hardly know anything at all in comparison to what there is to know. Can you imagine what a pessimist who lived only 200 years ago would think about the world we live in? Airplanes, electricity, automobiles, television, remote controls, the internet, fax machines, telephones, cellular phones, and so on. All because of that spark of open-mindedness that allowed progress, growth, and creativity to flourish. And what of the future and all of your tomorrows? Can you picture faxing yourself back to the 14th century? Flying without machines? Telepathically communicating, demolecularizing yourself and rearranging yourself on another galaxy, or cloning a sheep from a photograph of a sheep? An open mind allows you to explore and create and grow. A closed mind seals off any such creative explanation. Remember that progress would be impossible if we always did things the way we always have. The ability to participate in miracles, true miracles in your life, happens when you open your mind to your limitless potential.
You begin by ending your search for love. I say it again. You begin by ending your search for love. No more searching. So what does the poet mean by those that go searching for love only make manifest their own lovelessness? Well, when you seek something, you feel that what you're striving for is missing from your life. If it's love, for example, then what you're really saying is, I'm experiencing lovelessness, and in my seeking, I hope to fill this void. But the problem with this approach is that rather than filling the love void, it only puts you further out of balance, and lovelessness continues to be your experience. Why? Because you're weighted more in lovelessness than in lovingness. Your thoughts are focused on finding what's missing, while your desire is for love to flow into your life. This kind of misalignment continues to attract more of what's missing. What you're thinking about is the love that's not there. The universe cooperates by matching up vibrationally with precisely what you're thinking about. How does the universe know to do this? Well, it's merely matching its vibration to your thoughts through the law of attraction. You need to turn off the searchlights and dismiss the search party, and instead replace them with an energy of loving thoughts, an internal knowing about receiving love. You originated from a place of spirit. That's defined by love. When you begin rebalancing your life so that your desire and the way you think and behave are a loving partnership, you'll realize that your desire is really God realization. The longing for love is a longing to become more like God in your thoughts.
With this awareness, you soon realize that searching outside of yourself for what you already are is the ultimate folly. No one else can give this to you. As D.H. Lawrence says, the loveless never find love. This is because the loveless are focused on not having what they desire rather than on what they already are. Furthermore, the loveless believe that they're unworthy of the love they desire, and guess what? They continue to attract more evidence of their unworthiness. With the searchlights turned off and the one-person search party given a permanent rest, you can turn your attention to balancing the authentic means at your disposal for receiving abundant love. This, then, is the irony, summed up perfectly in the poet's conclusion that only the loving find love, and they never have to seek for it. Becoming the love. My definition of love goes beyond the admittedly delicious lust and excitement that you experience when you first become infatuated. Ultimately, these inflamed passions fade away, and what remains is authentic love, or the balance you're seeking. And what is a prime example of this? It is to love as God does, to extend the caring that defines your very creation outward whenever and wherever possible. Love of this nature leads you to forget about your own ego and want what you desire for yourself even more for another. This is how the act of creation seems to work. Your Creator doesn't ask anything from you in exchange for giving you life. It's given freely and abundantly, and no one is excluded. You don't have to repay God for giving you this life, or the air you need in order to live, or the water you drink for your very existence, or the sun that sustains you. Without any of these freely given ingredients, you wouldn't continue to live. This is the love that God offers you. To balance your life with more lovingness, you need to match your thoughts and behaviors with those of your source, being love in the way that God is. This means noticing when you're inclined to judge yourself or others as though you or they are unworthy of love. This means suspending your need to be right in favor of being kind toward yourself and others, and deliberately extending kindness everywhere. This means giving love to yourself and others rather than demanding love. This means your loving gesture of kindness is heartfelt because you feel love flowing from within, not because you want something in return. A tall order? Not really, unless you believe that it's going to be difficult. Lovingness is a feature of your natural state, and your ego isn't part of that state. Ego dominates because you've separated yourself from your God self, the loving self that came here from a place of perfectly divine, unconditional love. You've carried this ego idea of your own self-importance, your need to be right, for so long that you've deluded yourself into believing that the ego self is who you are. Talk about being out of balance. You've opted for a belief in pure illusion. By allowing this illusion to be the dominant force, you've created through your ego-centered self a heavy imbalance in your life. The result is that you want to feel love, the real thing, the love that is the very essence of your being, the love that you are, but you feel emptiness instead of lovingness. Why is this so? Because the emptiness can only be filled with love by opening your heart connection to the spirit of love that originates you know not where, but can be felt within you. It's your empty space, no one else's. Therefore, only you can fill it. Your objective is to ask love within you to make its presence known, to have an awareness of being so full of love that this is what you have to give away. That's all you have to do, ask and receive. By doing just that, you'll attract more of what you're giving away.